Hi, this is Eric Addy, and today I'm happy to bring you an interview with Guillermo and Diane, who in their mid-40s retired early and relocated from Northern Virginia down to Guadalajara, Mexico. Now, in this interview, we're going to talk about uh, cost of living, we're going to talk about safety, we're going to talk about why Guadalajara, we're going to talk about their future plans and really how they were able to pull off this early retirement. So they're a great couple. I think you'll learn a lot, and I appreciate you watching.
Hi, this is Eric Addy with Retire Early 365, and today I have the pleasure of introducing you to Guillermo and Diane, who in their mid-40s have retired early and moved to Mexico. So welcome to the channel, Diane and Guillermo.
Hey, Eric, how are you? Thank you.
I'm doing great. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Let's just jump right in. You've retired in your mid-40s and moved to Mexico. Tell us a little bit how you pulled that off and why Mexico.
You to start?
Sure.
Okay. So it came about in a number of ways, but we've always wanted to retire early, hoping to retire around 50. And Guillermo has been a network engineer for many, many years.
Yeah.
Maxing out the 401ks.
Nice.
I have been in real estate for many years, always trying to put money, aside in a SEP, and also trying to pay off mortgage quickly, purchase rental property, and do anything we could to try and build up our net worth.
Yeah.
I guess is what you would say. So, and I wouldn't say we're extreme like some people are. I mean, we certainly lived a comfortable life in the Northern Virginia DC area. But we were the type of people that, you buy a used car and then you drive it until it doesn't, go anymore. And so certain things to try to, save as much money as we could, we would do. We actually realized, I think especially with a good stock market, a couple of years ago that we could actually make this happen a good bit sooner. And so we just started planning for it about a year before, we actually about 2 years before we made the move. Because Guillermo resigned from his job about a year before the move so that we could see how could we do, there in the Northern Virginia area. And I actually closed on my last transaction and one of our houses just
Nice.
a few days before we moved and took off to Guadalajara.
The thing is that originally when we planned to retire early was going to be in Denver. It was her idea because we had a friend there, a close friend, which we kept visiting. And in the end, she loved it. I mean, I hated the cold and snow a little bit, but it's sunny the very next day. So she started writing the whole planning on Denver. Then I started seeing how much, I had a VA, benefits. I could use, the benefits for medical for myself, but she didn't get it. So I started seeing how much more expensive. So we took a vacation to Mexico. So at what point?
Puerto Vallarta.
Puerto Vallarta.
Okay.
We just had a wonderful time. And the only thing I didn't like was the heat at the time. It was a little humid and hot. So I didn't really consider it until about 5-6 months into the planning. I just said, hey, why don't we just try Mexico? I just threw it out there, and she goes, you know what? Didn't think about it. I was so fixated on Denver, she said. So we started the planning that way, and the cost of living was great. We knew vacation and all the times that we visited. So yeah, we started going with it, and Mexico turned out to be.
And that actually allowed us to retire. Well, allowed me, because we were going to have me continue to work, for a couple of more years. And
Right.
as I started running numbers for Mexico, it was like, oh, wait a minute. We
Yeah.
can just go ahead and go now within the next year.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Now, did you make a return trip to Guadalajara before you decided just to pick up and move there, or was it the Puerto Vallarta?
No,
I'll have to cut that out. Puerto Vallarta.
Puerto Vallarta, yeah. But Puerto Vallarta was mainly like for the beach. Diane wanted to be near a beach or something. So she's like, hey, that's nice. But then I like the city. So we tried Guadalajara. We came for about 2 weeks just to stay at an Airbnb, which we ended up being friends with the owner. And she showed us around and things. We learned a lot from her. But that was the first time. And then we just decided
Well, we actually came to check out Guadalajara and the climate here, and of course the city is a much bigger, city. And we also went over to Lake Chapala, which is an area where a lot of retirees are. And we spent a few days there, and as beautiful as it is, we realized that just wasn't the place for us. Guadalajara just has so much more going on. And again, being from the DC metro area, we're very used to big city life. So weather, it hooked us.
Yeah, that's a big weather.
So what elevation is Guadalajara?
About 5,000 feet above sea level. So it's pretty similar to Denver.
Yeah.
Nice.
No snow, which is perfect.
Yes.
Rain in a couple months, 3-4 months out of the year, there's a lot of rain, but it's okay.
Are you guys in the rainy season now?
We are in the rainy season right now.
But the good thing about Guadalajara itself, it's the at night. It only rains at night, all night, and then in the morning, everything's a little dewy and wet, but it's sunny. And
oh, nice.
At night, and then sunny the next day. So we hardly see any rain during the day.
That is very nice. Very nice. So the temperature is 75, 80 degrees year round?
No, because the rains finally came and cooled it off. It's in the low 80s during the day, and it's in the low 60s at night. And it'll stay this way, and in a few months it may get a little bit cooler. But generally speaking, it's somewhere between 75 and 85 year round.
Nice. Now, what have you found as far as cost of living? Obviously, it's a lot cheaper than Denver. What have you found, a typical monthly cost might be for somebody moving to Guadalajara?
Well, I've been following what we were spending in the DC metro area and what we're spending here. And to kind of have the same quality of life, it's about a third of the cost.
Wow.
In the DC area.
We have
a big deal.
We do have a calculator, like cost of living calculator, and it kind of gives us like 63. We're saving 63% of what we're spending in Virginia by living here in a year that we've been here.
But to answer your question specifically, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, it really depends. We could get by on a lot less money here.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people that do. And of course, especially being in the Guadalajara area, I mean, the Silicon Valley of Mexico, we could get by on a whole lot more money. So it's really just kind of a range depending on, what the living conditions are that you want to be in.
And you have a fantastic spot. You have a YouTube channel that I've watched your home, and it's beautiful. It's like anything that you would find in the States, but a whole lot less expensive.
Very updated. We got a little lucky. Let's say, I mean, in the city and the different areas, this is a residential type of area. You see a lot of them, and then you also see some old homes that need to be a little remodeled. You can tell they're like 70s style, modern 70s at the time.
Right.
Or like contemporary 70s style, but what a lot of people told us, and even our local friend, you just walk around the streets, drive around, you're gonna see signs, you're gonna see people just word of mouth, and that's how you find great properties. Right. You start hitting the websites and calling directly through the internet or whatnot, then that's when you start getting just too much, not
higher prices.
Just not the credit.
Now, in your travels that you've been in Guadalajara, have you run into a lot of Americans? You run into a lot of expats?
So we do have some expat friends. Yeah. A number of them, really a handful. And some of them are from one of our Airbnb hosts who has been here. He's an American citizen, but has been here for about 14 or 15 years.
So he runs a boutique hotel right in the Americana area of Guadalajara.
Okay.
He gets an influx of expats coming in and out, staying for times in a month.
Well, he's actually got
boutique hotel.
Well, a boutique hotel, yeah. But anyway, so he's been wonderful introducing us to people. Of course, we've met some other people, through those people. And also Internations, which is in most countries around the world. We've met, some friends through there. You don't really see, and through Facebook.
Okay.
There's Facebook, expat Facebook groups, which are wonderful.
That's how I found you guys.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
we found a number of friends that way as well. And now, in the past few months, we've met a few people that are moving into this area also through our YouTube channel. So people are
Nice.
reaching out to us, which is really nice.
No, but just walking the streets or going to restaurants or bars, you really don't see many expats. You don't hear many people talking in English. So they we only met 2 people just walking in 2 years now. Well, in a
1
year, even 1 year, we only met 2 people that spoke English walking the
Wow.
street. One walking their dog and another one running. And
Yeah.
one heard us, and we were like, "Oh yeah, there's another one." So it was kind of funny to hear people, like that talking in English. But you don't see many expats at all.
Well, as we were talking before the recording, you're not too far from Lake Chapala, and there's a lot of expats there.
Definitely a lot of expats there. So,
Yeah.
and for the most part, everybody speaks English there
Yeah.
as well because they're serving, a community of mainly Canadian and U.S. expats. But I have found Guillermo, of course, speaks fluent Spanish.
Yeah.
I spoke a little bit when we moved here, and I am learning daily. But I have found that as I struggle with my Spanish, when I'm talking with someone and Guillermo's not around, a lot of people here do know English.
Yeah.
And it's certainly better, it may not be perfect, but a lot better than my Spanish so far.
Yeah, they give it a try. They start with Spanish, and when they see you struggle, either A, the locals will try to help Diane, or they just start talking English. And
Yeah.
it's not too bad. She deals with normal, like the morning mercados and shopping in Spanish, but it is it's a good practice, but it's not like long conversations.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I think if we can touch on this, there's a misconception on safety in Mexico. You hear the U.S. media talking about how dangerous it is, and there's certain parts of Mexico that is dangerous, but probably no more so than Baltimore or St. Louis or Detroit or some of the big cities here in the United States. What has your experience been being there for a year and a half with safety, walking around, and just what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, we've been all around Guadalajara now, daytime and evening, and we haven't felt uncomfortable in any area, really, of
Okay.
Guadalajara. There's probably some areas that, just like any city, you kind of start walking into or driving into, and you're like, may not want to continue going down this road.
Right.
But for the most part, we just really haven't felt unsafe
Yeah,
in
I
any
think
area.
the main thing we just follow what the locals tell us, like a lot of the neighbors and friends, the basics. We look for when we take money out of the ATM, we make sure we keep the money in our, wallet. We don't walk around on the streets with our cell phones or at the corner, because we heard people can swipe your phone in a motorcycle, take it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just common sense seems to be the main thing, and we haven't seen any violence. Now, when you hear all this violence in Mexico, funny enough, when we read the local news about them, 70%, I guess, of the time, it's just territorial fights between some of the either gangs or some part of the narco territory. If there is some that we know of around here, we don't really see even that.
Right.
But usually that's just, and if people getting hurt, it's maybe a crossfire. But usually it's just among the bad guys, I guess. And then nothing really to us, except for that when we first moved in, we kind of had a new remodel home. We got robbed because it was just, you didn't have any security, any type of measurement. But also one of the things we learned is in Mexico, a lot of the times if people are watching you, they follow your pattern or whatnot, they may send somebody and rob you if they see that your house is open or no security. We had some workers across the street that were fixing a house, and I think they kind of watch our pattern coming in and out, and we didn't really have all the security installed yet. As a matter of fact, my security system was sitting on the table.
Oh, no.
And they stole that.
Oh, geez.
Probably laughing all the way out the door.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, like I said, it is just being cautious and knowing where to go. We walked at night a couple of times in a nice area, Americana, in Guadalajara, and we felt totally safe. I mean, with our dog or just us, it was nice and quiet. Now, I hear some areas in El Centro, like downtown, just like any downtown, I think there's some little areas you just don't go, they say,
Well, and that, that could happen anywhere. Is somebody establishes your pattern of moving stuff back and forth, and yeah.
I agree.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we had break-ins into our cars and different things like that in Northern Virginia. It was no different, of course.
I know. Yeah.
Had people break into houses, and like Guillermo said, it was a brand new remodeled home, and it didn't have any security at all in it yet. So we weren't real careful about making sure people didn't realize that we were moving our things in and we hadn't moved ourselves in yet. So we were a little to blame for not being as careful.
I was unloading my car outside. We have a driveway, but I wasn't parking in the driveway. So it's just kind of outside. Every day we'll drop off some things or come and see an installation. We need a fence installed. And we'll pull up and get something out and then go back in. And now we know we don't do any unloading. Just we don't have any issues anymore. But still, I now park in the driveway. That's a good lesson learned every time we go shopping, grocery shopping or anything.
But again, we've been here almost a year now and feel completely safe in the house. We know a lot of the neighbors, and we don't have any issues at all, and we haven't heard of anybody else in the neighborhood having any issues. So this is not something that happens all the time.
Right.
We have we actually know the police patrol that roams around our neighborhood because we met him at the time of the robbery, right? So he was very nice. So every time, pretty much daily now. He just beeps his horn every time he passes by. So letting us know, hey, we're here. So it's kind of nice. We feel very comfortable now. Yeah. And it's
very nice. Now, Guadalajara is your home base, but that's kind of your jumping off point because you just got back from Tahiti and you're getting ready to head out to Europe. So you've got some big plans traveling.
Yes. Well, that was one of the other things when Guillermo mentioned Mexico and I started running the numbers. I was like, oh, wow, if we live there, we can actually do a lot more traveling than if we live in Denver, where the cost of living is so much higher. Yeah. So that was also an attraction for living in Mexico, having that lower cost of living. And
we factor in a lot. I mean, we did our homework. It might have looked a little fast in a year and a half period to decide. But we always have the price on the, looking at the price at the end. And I think that's just, traveling was just a little extra bonus because of the savings in Mexico. Right. And now we're taking advantage. I mean, we're trying to travel every other month because, it is kind of tiresome to travel so much. So we have to kind of get back on our sleeping patterns and workouts and so on every other month and then try to travel the rest. And it's wonderful.
No, that's fantastic. Now, do you get back to the States much? Do you get back to see family?
That's funny, actually. We discussed that a lot because we have a son. He's there. He's got his life. Everything's great. And we have my mom and my family, part of my family there, and sisters and brothers. But
my family.
And yours as well. But when we're here, it's such a different lifestyle in Mexico, for example. And I'm sure it's different in other parts of the world. But in Mexico, it's so, even in a big city like Guadalajara, it's so relaxing that you just get into a mode of no pressure, no stress. And yes, you miss your family, but we're not really missing a lot of the States, all that fast pace and moving fast. Hey, we got to be on time or we're late. And it's constant, fast moving. Here, it's just so different that people ask us, hey, when are you coming back? I'm like, not really coming back.
Come see us.
Yeah,
exactly. That's what we've been trying to do. So we do. I go back at Thanksgiving, to see my family.
Yeah.
And
Christmas.
Right, and we've gone back. One of our close friends had a housewarming party for a new home that they had built. And we went back and got to see all of our friends and got to see our son. So it's not that we don't go back, but we thought we would probably go every few months, and that hasn't been happening. So maybe possibly every 6 months, if that.
Yeah.
And let me tell you the biggest difference that I used to live by my phone all the time, not only for social media, but just texts and calls, and people will call and people come into the house sometimes. Now I don't hardly get any calls. It is such a peaceful feeling to not be dependent on your phone that much, because we don't really know a lot of people yet here. Right. So we don't get a lot of texts or calls or anything that could stress us out. Nobody comes to the door. if anybody comes, they yell from outside, like if they have bread or if they have, hey, vegetables today, or throw your junk at us, we'll pick it up,
Or the police officer beeping the horn on the way by.
Exactly, and nobody rings the doorbell unexpectedly. I mean, it is just such different that makes us kind of feel like, hey, we've been missing out a lot for so many years living in the U.S., and now it's such a different feel that it's actually good. It's a refreshing feeling,
So with that slower pace of life, how long did it take you to decompress and get out of the American fast mode down to a slower pace in Mexico?
Well, I think I had a little, I guess, training before, because I retired a year before Diane, so yeah. I kind of got to, well, we were kind of fixing a house, remodeling our home at the time. So we were looking over that, and then I was also just kind of, relaxing a little bit, trying to get in that mode. And then when she moved here, that's when she started getting all the same feels. Mm-hmm. So she always reminds me, hey, you got a year ahead of me. So I need to do more relaxing.
But I think it still took us both a little while. Because it's not only about work, but just also, like we've talked about, just the lifestyle of living here.
Right.
And everything is so much slower paced. I mean, you have plenty of time to stop and talk to people. Nobody's worried about if you're, exactly on time for anything, as long as you're, happy, healthy, and, So I would say it probably took us somewhere between 3 or 4 months to really get a feel.
Just a chill.
Right.
Oh yeah, no. About punctuality, for example, it took us 2 parties to go to be the very first people right on time, and everybody else, the locals and friends, started showing up 2-3 hours later. So punctuality is not a big deal. Everybody rolls into any appointments, anything to do whenever they. I mean, I don't think it's.
Well, our doctor appointments, we go on time.
Well, that's it. But overall, yeah, it took us about 3 or 4 months to see the difference.
And you bring up a good point. How about healthcare? What are you doing for healthcare?
So we purchased a private health insurance policy, and it's really more, for us, it's more a catastrophic policy in case, something really, severe were to happen. And that, for the 2 of us, it's under $200 a month. I don't remember exactly.
Now, is that travel insurance that covers you wherever you are?
No, this is just health insurance anywhere in Mexico. So just like you get a health insurance policy in the U.S.,
yes,
we got a health insurance. And by the way, we were using Obamacare before we left, paying, I think, over $1,000 a month. And now here, we have a policy that's less than $200 a month.
And that is expensive. We're actually going to renew with somebody else, which is a lot cheaper. But like she said, whenever we need a daily doctor or anything, we hear recommendations from the expat groups and Facebook and friends. And when we go and get our teeth checked or your whatever normal checkups, we just pay in cash because it's a fraction of what.
So inexpensive.
We haven't used the insurance policy. And we've done most of our annual visits now. Our dental visit, it was about an hour long with the dentist, not with a hygienist.
X-ray.
Got X-rays and the cleanings, and it was $25
each.
Yeah. Wow.
I've been to an ENT because I was having a problem with some vibrations in my ear. Probably spent an hour and a half with the ENT, so a specialist, and he did an endoscopy there in his office. A number of other things. I think the entire bill was $125.
$125. What would that bill been in the United States?
Easily $300 to $400.
Oh, a lot more than that. So, because they probably, they would have had to reschedule you for another appointment to do the endoscopy, and just it would have been a nightmare.
And the thing, the doctor was fluent in English and Spanish, and he had the super technology in his office. So we expected to pay a little bit more, but again, we just keep getting surprised on prices and everyday things like another big thing we changed compared to the U.S. was the grocery shopping. Yeah. We don't go as much to Costco. We buy fresh stuff, so we're seeing all this difference in fraction of what we used to spend there. And medical is actually very. We've been good so far. But
the medical's great. I've loved all of the doctors we've seen. Really, you can find ones that speak English. A lot of them have studied in the U.S., so that's not an issue. And what Guillermo was saying with, I feel like here, even though we brought our car, we still do a lot more walking here. We're eating. You just don't really get the processed stuff here. I guess you can if you want to. But we have a local market that we go to pretty much every morning. It's about a block and a half from our house. So we go out to walk our dog in the morning. We stop at the market. We pick up what we need for the day. And it's wonderful. And the food is great. Because,
but also about medical, talking about medical, she has asthma-induced
allergy-induced
asthma. And I used to have some problems with my skin, a little dryness and all throughout the years. And those things are clear. We're sleeping much better.
Wow.
We're dreaming. We're having dreams again like we didn't have it. So it's just weird how things change physically and just not only culturally and lifestyle-wise, but physically as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Losing
weight,
kind of like,
have time to exercise, eat right, so it's good.
It's a total makeover.
Incredible. It's just, I couldn't picture us doing this, 20 years ago,
Yeah. Well, what I find, and you mentioned it earlier, is that when I was in Mexico last year, it's a reverse. So fruits and veggies here in the United States are more expensive than the processed food. But when you go down there, it's fruits and veggies at the markets are a lot less expensive than the processed foods.
Absolutely.
And obviously a lot healthier. So what would be your advice if somebody is thinking about pulling off an early retirement, moving to Mexico? What would be your best advice to give them?
Your advice.
Well, I guess I think the most important advice is to really, run the numbers, know the numbers, and practice at home, and make sure whatever you decide your budget is going to be, with the money that you have, make sure that that's something that's doable. So try to practice it at home. I realize, things are more expensive like we discussed, but you can start watching it and see, okay, do I think I'd be able to live on this if, groceries are this much less, if housing is this much less. I think that's the biggest thing.
And the second thing, I think once you get past the numbers, I feel, and you see that there is a good light down the tunnel and everything seems to be okay, then you just got to start getting used to, like, what do you need? I mean, do I need all these things that I have? And can I spare some of this thing? And start getting used to, like, using less and not taking too much focus on objects more than, think of experiences rather than things. So getting used to letting go a lot of things, physical things, is a big deal for a lot of people. A lot of them, they just say, no, I can't get rid of this. I'm going to just keep it. I want to stay the same way. Just take a leap, take a chance. This is an opportunity that I think it's been healing to us, mind, body, and also just appreciating new things. If you want to experience a new culture and see new things and, just step outside of your normal box. Just do it. And in the end, just kind of like, always the numbers are the number one thing, but also you just follow your heart, follow your dream. Where do you want to be and explore the world,
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Now, where can people follow you? You've got a YouTube channel.
We do. So we are Seeking Paradise Bugs. We're travel bugs seeking paradise. So although we really love Guadalajara, we're still looking around, to make sure what would be our perfect 10 place.
We're exploring the world to see if there's an actual paradise to us. So we are on Facebook at Seeking Paradise Bugs. We're on Instagram and also on YouTube. So we have a checklist theme of, like, what do we need, what's our paradise, and if that place where we visit meets all the expectations, and then we'll choose it eventually. We're here for now in Guadalajara, but who knows where we end up next year.
So people just need to follow along.
Yes.
Hey, guys, this has been fantastic. I appreciate you joining it. What a wealth of information. And I know you guys are getting ready to take off to Europe soon, so have a great trip. And I look forward to following along your journey as well.
Awesome.
Great. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks a lot, Eric.
Thank you, guys.
What I enjoyed about that interview is that you could see the devoid of stress on their face. You could see that they were very relaxed and wonderful people. I just really enjoyed talking to them. And especially their plans of, Guadalajara being sort of their launching point, to be able to live there and travel the world. I mean, that was exceptional, I thought, and great information. Now, if you need help with your retiring early plan, this is what I do, is help people not only retire early, but seize their freedom. So if you go to retireearly365.com, I offer some coaching packages. I also offer a subscription-based advice-only investment program. So if we can help you, go to retireearly365.com and go check those out. And live free, my friends.